Photo bomb by the cat. Ha! All right, today we're doing oil cooler lines on my 2000 Chevy Astro. These are the new lines here. There's one bolt that fastens this end here to the perch near the oil filter. And then we have these two push-click fittings that fasten into the top here. They push and click when you have the new clips on. And then there's one down below. Hopefully you can see at the bottom of the radiator. So the first thing that we're going to do is crawl underneath the van and remove a support strap bolt. Kind of tough to get to. There's our support strap, and that's what we're going to have to reach up in here and get to the bolt that is holding this support strap to release the twin lines. They come down from the transmission there, go over the steering bars, over the pumpkin. Try to get the focus here again. And then they work their way right back to the oil perch here. And we have one bolt there. I don't know if I can point to it. That bolt right there that we're going to remove. Now I'm going to remove that first so all the oil drips out of these lines, hopefully into my pan. And when that happens, well, first I'll disconnect that strap that's holding the lines. Then we'll take this bolt out, separate this, let it drip out, and then we'll disconnect the lines from the radiator. Okay, so there's our wrench on the head of the bolt for the support strap. Hopefully you can kind of see it there. It's a little tough to get to, but we're going to take this out and release the strap. Okay, so there's our wrench on the head of the bolt for the support strap. Hopefully you can kind of see it there. It's a little tough to get to, but we're going to take this out and release the strap. Okay, now we're on to this bolt here. As you can see, it's a little painstaking. There's not a lot of room for the wrench. So we're going to keep working this out, and then we're going to pull this connection here off and let it drip into our oil pan. So we got our line disconnected. Now we're just letting the oil run down into our oil catch, and I'm going to go disconnect the upper hoses in the meantime to get this oil out a little bit faster. Okay, next what we're doing here is we're popping this clip off right here with a pick. So I'm going to pop this clip off. As soon as that's off, then we can grab the head of this and pop it out, and hopefully not have too much of a mess since we did the bottom first, or released the bottom first. I got the clip off the bottom one down there. It's tough to reach. Tried to do it up from the bottom because I have a body lift. That wasn't working out so well. So I finally got the clip off. Used a little pry bar to pop that head off there. And now we're doing this upper one here. Give this a little manipulation here, and boop, it popped right out. Gonna be a lot more fun, I think, getting them to pop back in. They say that you can push and snap them in, but my experience with these are you have to push really hard to get them to snap in. So I'm considering putting them in, then putting the clip in. I'm not sure yet. It's not fun, but you have to wiggle and finagle and pull these up through the top. That block that goes on the oil perch, you have to feed that over the differential a bit, and then it'll start working its way out. So almost ready to pull this out completely. All right, so here it comes. Finally got it fed through. Definitely got to finagle, but it does come out this way. So here's our old nasty oily line in comparison with our new one. Oh, the joy. This is going to be fun getting back in. I did one of these once before a couple years ago for a friend. I just don't remember it being this big of a pain. So here's our fitting that threads into the radiator. I unthreaded it, and what you'll notice about these, they have a rubber seal on one end and they have like a rubber sleeve on the other where that new line is going to snap into. And I don't trust these. You know, if you're this deep in, you should go replace these. They don't go by part numbers, evidently. I have to take it down to the auto parts store and match it up, but I'm going to replace both the upper and the lower because these have been in here for a long time. No sense reusing them. Just a quick tutorial on these fittings. This is the old one. It actually does have a little O-ring in there, and if you were to pop that out and replace it and replace this one here, you could just reuse these. I just figured how I'll run down to the auto parts store and just grab some replacements, which I did. I got thread lock on them right now using this Permatex high temperature thread sealant for these. Already went and put it on there so it'll tack up a little bit. When you go to get these fittings, they don't have them listed as a part. It's considered hardware. So this is the information for them. And again, this is a 2000 Astro van. So you might be able to talk to them on the phone and say, hey, you know, this is the Napa part number. Do you have this? And if they have them, go ahead and grab them. But you basically got to take yours down to them and then match them up in the store otherwise. All right, so let's start putting this bad boy back together again. So to loosen up this bottom one, you're going to want a 1-inch boxed end wrench. And you just got to give it a little turn at a time here. Unfortunately, in small increments to unthread that bad boy. I thought I could do it with my fingers and moved a little bit, but then it got stubborn. So a little bit at a time with the 1-inch boxed end. And eventually it'll come out, right? Okay, what I like to do here is use a 1-inch wrench on the bottom and a cheater wrench hooked into the top. That way you can reach this all the way down there and get it down to that bottom one and have some leverage to get it tight. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and thread in the top one here. Got our thread sealant on there. And again, these are a 1-inch size wrench. All right, so we'll get that tight and move on to the next step. All right, boy, getting this bottom hose with this fitting here, getting the bottom one to clip in to this clip was a major pain. It was a little bit taut on the hose because I have a body lift, and man, I had to get a 2x4, little piece of 2x4 to put in front of the steering shaft and then pry with a crowbar, and lining it up was really tough, but I finally got that sucker to snap in down there. Now this upper one is probably not going to be a nightmare. We'll see. Okay, so this one here should be a little bit easier to get to snap in because it lines up better. I can't do it one-handed. Oh, there it goes. All right, so that one just snapped in like it's supposed to, and that wasn't a nightmare, but good grief, that bottom one, it did not want to line up. Doesn't take much pressure to put them in, but they have to line up real good in order to snap them in. And that one's so far down there, I couldn't get it from the bottom up. Had to do it from the top down, so a 2x4 will come in handy, about this big, maybe even a little bit smaller. And then I had to use that crowbar to put that pressure on it. So we got the pressure on it, we got it snapped in, and we got a full installation done here. Okay, so a little bit of advice in hindsight. The last time that I had done the oil cooler lines, I did them on a friend's van that wasn't lifted yet. And my van has the 3-inch body lift plus suspension lift. And what I learned today, sorry about that, was when you're installing the oil cooler lines and you have a body lift, of course your radiator is going to be 3 inches higher, depending on the body lift. Mine's 3 inches higher than the lines originally go. The upper line plugged right in, no problem. Push it in with your hands. With that bottom one, it's really hard to get a grasp on it and push it in because there's just no room. I had to use a crowbar and gently try to pry against a 2x4 chunk that was up against my steering shaft, and it just would not go in repetitively. So I took the fitting out to make sure it was snapping on right, and it snapped right on. Then I threaded it back in, and still couldn't get that sucker in there. Really had to tug and pull and finagle. And I finally got it to snap in, did the upper one, and was done. But if I was doing this job again on a body-lifted Astro van or Safari, what I would suggest is to tack the bolt, get it started that holds the strap that supports it by the pumpkin. It's a small 10mm bolt. When you take it out, you wonder how in the heck you're ever going to get it back in. But I got it back in. I'd run that in like 3 or 4 threads. Then I'd go to the oil perch, and I would run that bolt in 3 or 4 threads, no more than that. Then I would go back to the bottom hose on the radiator and try to snap it in. That way you got some leeway to move that whole hose back and forth. 3/4 of an inch, even a 1/4 inch would have made a big difference in getting that to snap in. But I tightened everything else up, so when I went to pull on the line to get it in, it was just a little bit crooked. And if it doesn't go straight into that fitting, directly straight, it will fight you and fight you and fight you. So I hope that tip helps you out. Don't forget to subscribe. I got a lot of cool videos on other repairs and so forth. And I'm sure there'll be some to come because it never seems to stop with these vans. Good thing they're cool as hell. Have a good day.